Hi everyone. I am going to attempt to do a quick, I don't really want to spend a lot of time on this, but I wanted to do a quick reading, psychic reading on the death of Elisa Lam. If you're not familiar with this case, there is a lot of information all over the internet, and there are just too many synchronicities and strange things around Elisa Lam's death to go over them in detail. You can easily look it up and you can go through all the weird synchronicities, very bizarre. I mean, it's absolutely bizarre, this case. Absolutely bizarre. Her body was found in the water tank at the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles on February 19th, 2013. She had been staying there, and she had a history of mental illness. And I think her death was officially ruled a suicide. But there are so many just bizarre circumstances around her death, and no one even knows really how she got in the water tank. And there are all kinds of bizarre connections to movies, and there's even a somewhat of an odd connection to Aleister Crowley, though when I looked into it further, it wasn't as interesting as I was hoping it was going to be. Aleister Crowley had a being that he created called Lam, and he had stayed at the Cecil, but it wasn't this Cecil. It was actually the Cecil in London. So anyway, but there's I mean, that's kind of a loose one, but there are some very, very strange synchronicities. And the Cecil has a very strange history. The Cecil in Los Angeles. I think the one in London probably does too, but the one in Los Angeles has had all kinds of the Black Dahlia murders, and a couple serial killers lived there. Has a very, very dark past. Several suicides have happened there. So anyway, I wanted to look at Elisa Lam's death while in trance and just see what I come up with. This could be a very short video. I might just kind of get in there and get out. She's Chinese. Her name's Elisa Lam. And she was born April 30th, 1991, and her body was found February in 2013, and her Chinese name was Lam Ho Yi. So with that, I am going to go into trance and see what comes to me. I think I might pull cards in a different video. I could do a card reading video on this and see how that works. But I just wanted to do the raw psychic thing for right now. Yeah, so the first thing that's coming up, I'm seeing some of the energy around the Cecil Hotel, which I believe has gone through some sort of renovation lately. And I am seeing these dark hooded beings. They have these pointy It's almost like they have pointy heads, but it's like a pointy cloak. And it's like skin. It's really strange. It's like a pointy hatted cloak, but it's not really a cloak. It's almost like a skin that they have, and it's has they have like these kind of, it's looks like something out of a cartoon sometimes, but they have these like glowing eyes underneath of these hoods, but they're not, like I said, they're like almost like skin, and it's like a, has like a seams in it. It's not seams. Oh, I wish I could draw it. It almost looks like a snake that's wound up, but it's a seam, if that makes sense. I don't know. There's got to be a name for that. It's not a normal seam. It's like if you took a snake or something like shaped like a snake and you wound it up into a cone. It has these like spiraling. It's like a spiraling seam that goes up into these pointy things. So anyway, there's a bunch of them. They kind of roam the ground floor. I don't see them having anything to do with her death, though. So far, I'm seeing, so those are, they kind of roam around. Then there's some ritual type stuff that's gone on in some of the rooms in there, but it doesn't look like an organized thing. It's like somebody drew like a red pentagram on the floor in one of the rooms at one point. I mean, I could probably spend hours going through the energy of this place. Ground it. The energy around her death is... It's actually a very... Like I'm looking at her making the transition into... It has... the energy is very bright. It's very relief, peaceful. It looks like she made it when she, the other side, she is in a peaceful state. On the other side. Now, I did look at another mysterious death, which I did not record, and I did not see that. I did not see a peaceful experience on the other side, so I don't want to sound cliche by saying, oh, she's at peace now. No, I'm not quite. I don't see that all the time, so I want to be clear about that. That's not something I automatically assume. I would not automatically assume she's in a state of peace at all. Though I am seeing that clearly right now. See if I can... There's a lot of white light surrounding her, which I don't... that's prayer. That tends to be prayer energy. Even though it sounds good from my My instruction, white light energy is not always a good thing. It can actually be a form of interference from that's generated from prayer energy. So like people have been praying for her, and that can actually cause some interference in your space. When people, I know prayer has, might have some benefits, so don't get too mad at me, but it can certainly cause some issues as well. So I'm going to, man, the healing guides, we're going to do a little bit of a healing on some of this energy so she can just kind of have her own space back a little bit, because it's a little bit, it's kind of clouding her a little bit. Clouding. So, okay. So we just moved that. She's very light being, she has this real light energy about her at this point. And the earth was too much for her. The earth was too dense for her. She really didn't, she was not happy here on earth. And she feels a lot lighter. She's saying she's kind of in between spots right now where she wants to go somewhere else. She doesn't quite want to come back to Earth, but she does want to go. She wants to take a body somewhere else. She's even looking at maybe becoming some sort of animal, some sort of exotic animal, kind of taking a body as that type of but I don't know about that. She doesn't really want the heavy human experience on Earth. She would like either to go someplace else or come in and have have just a freer experience. I'm trying to see if I can get information about what actually happened to her and how she ended up in that water container. She seems very it's like I'm trying to see what happened like between, let's say there was footage of her, in the elevator and stuff, and I'm trying to see like what happened to her between being alive in the Cecil Hotel and being found getting into the water container. And I'm seeing there was somebody involved in that. There was a man involved. I'm seeing there was a man involved in this. The man is, I'm trying to tell if it's actually a man or it's the shape of a man, because I'm just seeing this dark, large male form. And he helped her get into, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. It's just very odd. And it's like a little bit, I don't know, it's like nervous. It's just a very strange. helped her into the water tank. I see her going in there. I see her actually it's like he guided her to the water tank. And I'm not sure at this point if it's a real person or it was some sort of being, like a spirit guide, for lack of a better word, that guided her into the water tank. But I see her being a willing participant in this whole process. And that's not uncommon when you look at deaths, where the person that is the deceased person was at on some degree a willing participant, like they had decided that it was their time to go. So there's always this kind of willing, and that's hard for, I guess, a lot of people to understand how somebody would willingly participate in their death, but that actually is very common. Yeah, and it looks like so I'm seeing her willingly go in there, and I'm seeing her, I'm seeing him kind of lifting up the lid and helping, like allowing her in there. But I'm not seeing a face. It's like he's a black form. He's a big black, like I don't mean black. I'm not talking race. I'm talking like, I'm talking like, I don't want to confuse anybody. I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about just, I can't tell what race he is. I can't really see his face or anything. It's like he's almost a shadow. And he's a large, bulky man who she almost followed him up there. It's almost as though she followed him up there and then climbed in, and he didn't realize she was in there and then closed the lid. Because I'm not getting a real sinister vibe about this individual either. I don't get a great vibe. I'm not getting a good vibe, but I'm not getting like super sinister, evil type of vibe. And there's plenty of that at the Cecil Hotel, believe me. There's no shortage of nasty vibes there. And I'm not getting a good vibe. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm not getting this like vibe that he threw her in there or anything like that, or like it was some sort of, on some level she was willing, and she's looks like she's doing much better where she is now on the other side. And I'm not feeling like she has regrets. I'm feeling, see, there's some strange energy coming in right now. Let's see, let me clear this out. Okay, so there's some energy coming in right now in my reading. I have to move it out. Of people are putting like, oh no, she's, she must regret. I don't see. Yeah, I see it being a really smooth transition for her. And it's like she just kind of walked up there and climbed into that tank. And I'm not seeing the Yeah, it's a strange energy between, I'm trying to figure out the relationship between her and this form, this male form that she followed up there into the tank. I'm not really seeing much of a relationship between them, if any. So she might have just followed some maintenance person. He was big, though. He's a big guy. Um, whether he had a, yeah, whether it was a real guy or not, I'm not exactly sure. It was like, it looks like it was somebody, yeah, it's just, and no one can really figure out, like, because the lid was back on the tank. Like, the lid was actually, like, they're trying, that's one of the mysteries, is how she got in the tank, like, how she got the lid off of the tank and then put back on. But I kind of see what I see is, like, she climbed in there. I don't see her being totally aware of what she was doing. Like, it's like she was almost sleepwalking in a way. She was checked out. She was checked out when she did this. Like, she wasn't completely aware of, I don't think they found a lot. They found drugs. They found some of her medication in her system when they did a toxicology report, or they took toxicology. They did find that it looked like she had still been taking her medication, I believe, because she had bipolar, and she was on, 4 or 5 different types of medication to treat her mental illness. But it does look like, to me, like she was, almost sleepwalking, and she was guided up and into this tank. I mean, she followed something or someone up into the tank, but the transition was easy for her. She's happier being off the planet and not in a human body. She doesn't really want to be in a human body. Again, she's looking at coming back as something else or going to another place. She's a very creative spirit. She has a lot of creative energy, but it's a very sprite-like, light energy. She is a very light being, a very sprite, fairy-like energy about her. And it was too much for her down here, and she's okay. She's okay with what happened. The transition itself was smooth for her, and I think that's what I'm going to kind of leave it at for now. It's what I'm seeing, and yeah, this is my first time doing something like this and putting it up on YouTube. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this does. But that's basically my reading on the death of Elisa Lam, and I'm happy to see that she seems like she's in a happier place. And I know that sounds cliche, and that's not, like I said before, that's not always the case. So anyway, I'm sorry for her family and her friends, and I know that there are other people involved in this that probably were not suffered a lot. So I'm not going to say it was without suffering, but from her perspective, she looks okay. She looks like she's doing all right. So, anyway, that's it. And I will be back with some more controversial videos for sure. Bye for now.